and for the wines that are produced there. Hopefully this edits together. Welcome back to Rewind with bschwitty, because I'm not moving to Yakima. Today is a regional focus, which we are focusing on Walla Walla, Washington, or the Walla Walla Valley AVA. As some of you may know, I hail from the great Pacific Northwest state of Washington, from the greater Seattle area, and that's where I was first exposed to the wine industry, albeit at an age I couldn't really appreciate it at. It's where I first forced myself to drink wine and enjoy it, back when I was first starting out, even though it was a fateful scotch and cigar night. For some reason, we ended up drinking wine because someone else couldn't handle the scotch. Meanwhile, I now still drink Macallan 12 regularly. That's my go-to decent price point scotch. And it's where I've left my family and friends to come out here to follow my wine career path in wine. So I have mad love for the state that I spawned from and still regularly visit, and for the wines that are produced there. While the majority of quality producers in the Walla Walla Valley AVA are in and around the city of Walla Walla, the majority of grapes come from across the border in Oregon, because this AVA straddles both Washington State and Oregon. 2/3 of it falls in Washington, and another third falls in Oregon. And on the Oregon side is where a lot of the quality grapes are grown, and a large quantity of them are grown over there due to weather conditions, stuff that I'll get into momentarily. Walla Walla is far inland, so it is going to have warm summers, sunny winters, and although it can get a little cold at night during those winters, which is it's still some awesome growing conditions for the grapes that are out there. On top of that, in the hilly areas that kind of circle the outside of the valley, you can get a decent amount of rainfall up there, enough that you could even dry farm if you are so inclined. Syrah is a major varietal from this area, on top of Merlot and Cab Sauv. More about that later. Now, the history of Walla Walla. It was a trading post founded in the 1840s by the Hudson Bay Company. Some French fur trappers in a nearby town started planting grapes in the area while they were trapping furs, because, the French very much enjoy their wine. And around the late 1850s, this whole area was kind of encapsulated and made into the town of Walla Walla proper. During the Idaho Gold Rush in 1860, it was a very popular time, not to be confused with the California Gold Rush of 1849. But once that Idaho Gold Rush died out, commerce steadily moved over to the ocean, because that's what happens. You need ports and ways to sail and ship and move things. So the center of commerce for the state of Washington was kind of moved from Walla Walla over to Seattle, on the west side of the state. Then when the Northern Pacific Railway Company skipped Walla Walla when they were building the line from Spokane to Seattle, Walla Walla kind of just started to die out, and also the grape growing practices out there started to die out. In addition to a really bad frost one year in 1883, this pretty much killed out the majority of grape growers in the Walla Walla area. And then finally, with Prohibition in the early 1900s, grape growing all but died out in that part of eastern Washington. Up until the 1970s, when Leonetti Sellers purchased a 1-acre property, started planting some cab, and kind of put Walla Walla back on the map, eventually becoming one of the more famous Washington Colt wines. And within a decade and a half, in 1984, the Walla Walla Valley appellation was granted AVA status in 1984. So, that's a brief history of Walla Walla Valley AVA, one of the, I think, 7 AVAs in Washington State currently. Let's move on to what kind of growing conditions are out there. The terroir, if you will. There are 4 major types of soil out there. On the very base elevation, there is cobblestone river gravel, which is rich in iron, calcium, magnesium, and other minerals. So you're going to get a really interesting minerality off of the that sea level elevation, the anything planted down there. In the next range, between sea level and the about 1,100 feet, there's a loess layer of flood sediment. Loess, if you're unfamiliar with the word, is kind of a fine wind-blown silt and will give a different characteristic to the wine. Above 1,100 feet is considered the uplands region, and the soil there is considered deep silt. Finally, a 4th soil category. There's a very thin silt sprinkled over a weathered basalt, and that's found on steep southwest-facing hills in the region, and it consists of fine wind-blown soil over volcanic bedrock that is kind of the basis for the valley. Enough about soil science. Varietals grown out here in the Walla Walla Valley AVA include Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Syrah, Cab Franc, Sangiovese, Chardonnay, and Viognier. Plus, there's a small pocket of a lot of random varietals, including Riesling, Gewürztraminer, and just about everything under the sun. But the 7 main ones I just listed. And I completely forgot, I have a Washington 2013 Ambassador Syrah, which is actually from the Red Mountain AVA, which is from the Yakima Valley AVA, which we will talk about at a future time. But figured we're starting on some Washington wine, so why not drink some Washington wine? This Syrah is actually not 100% Syrah, even though it says Syrah on the label. If we remember back to our wine basics, American labels can have up to 25% of other varietals in the blend and still call it a single varietal. I actually tried this when I was home over the holidays and loved it so much that I sent some to myself here in California. Now, oh yeah. Anyways, hope you learned something about Walla Walla, Washington. Why I didn't talk about Yakima Valley instead of Walla Walla, I will not know. But this Red Mountain Syrah is quite lovely. So, I hope you'll join me next Monday where we talk about Syrah in depth and a varietal focus. I'll still be drinking some of this. Hope you had a nice glass while watching this. On Wednesday, we're going to be doing something for National Hot Chocolate Day. It's going to be my red wine hot chocolate recipe. So that'll be exciting. Trust me, it's worth tuning in. And on Friday, we're going to go back to the well of Costco, Kirkland Signature brand Costco wines and try out the Costco Malbec and compare it against a reasonably priced competitor. What a week. Thank you for watching. This has been Rewind. My name's bschwitty, and I will catch you next time.